Hey, I'm TV and Movie Guy on Instagram, and I'll be reviewing Iron Man today. It's a great start to the MCU, and I can't tell you how many times I've probably watched it. At least 10, probably. Just because it's always the first one you watch, and always going to be the first one you see most. It's how it goes with these sort of movies and franchises. So I just want to say that everything in this video and episode is completely my own opinion, not to reflect any of my employers. And then I've never worked on any sort of engagement or counted any ballots for any TV or movie award shows. And with that, we'll get into the review. So, Iron Man. Overall, it's a great origin movie, and it's a solid start to the MCU. And if I were to explain it to you like you were five, like Steve Carell, okay, I like referencing movies and TVs a lot, so if I just allow me to go on tangents whenever that happens. So to explain it to you like you're five, Tony Stark owns a weapons manufacturing company, and they sell it to the military. He's under fire from his own weapons, and he's kidnapped. He plans and builds his escape around a new technology, and that powers the suit, while it also keeps shrapnel from digging into his heart. He decides this company will not sell weapons anymore since they were being sold to his enemies, or the military's enemies. He develops the technology to better protect himself and to power an upgraded suit. His company still sells weapons to the enemies, and he finds this out, that his partner, Obadiah Stane, is the one selling to them, and he's the one that wanted to have Tony killed originally. And then Tony and Stane fight it out. And that's how I would explain it to you if you were five. Not literally. I'd probably have it way more dumbed down than that, but I don't think you're five. So my next segment would be best and worst scene. The best scene has to be when Pepper's in the office and she's copying all the files down onto the jump drive, and then Stane is there. Just we already know that he's like the bad guys, but or at that point, yeah, I don't think we know, but well, we kind of find out because Pepper just watched the video, and so it just the tension just builds in that scene and builds and builds, and you're like, holy crap, is she gonna make it? Is she gonna get out of there? And it just reveals everything to everyone about everyone. It gets you on the edge of your seat. It's just a great scene. And then the worst scene is actually right before that scene between Tony and Pepper, where she threatens to quit, and Tony is talking about there is only the next mission, as if he's been doing this for so long, but he's just started. Like, it just seems a little dramatic too quickly for that type of scene, and the build up wasn't there, I don't think. My next segment will be best and worst line. I thought the best line was, I want an American cheeseburger. Cheeseburger first. There's a little bit more in there, but you know. He also wanted a press conference, but yeah, he wanted the cheeseburger first. And then he goes on to eat like at least two on screen that we see, I think, and like denies Obadiah Stane one of them. And then later on in that press conference, he takes out another burger. So it wasn't his last one. He was just being a dick. Tater. My bad. I try not to curse. Yeah, another contender for the best line I thought was, I'm going to die in a week. And then Yinsen says, well, this is a very important week for you then, Mr. Stark. I thought Yinsen was great. Just that whole part of the movie. Like, it takes up about maybe a quarter of the movie, but it's great, the chemistry between Tony Stark and Yinsen. It's just a great way to build up and create this origin character, this origin story for this character. And then the worst line I thought from the movie, and it's just bothered me every time I've watched it, and other people talk about it a lot and just say, "Oh, I love that line." It's Jeff Bridges really belting it out, and it's Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps. Yeah, I never liked that because he didn't build it with scraps. You provided him every single thing. It's not like he's MacGyver or anything. It's just like, oh, yeah, let's take this rock, this paperclip, and rubber band, and yeah, all right. It's not scraps. He had everything he ever wanted right in there. So yeah, that's just always bothered me about that line. It's funny, but just not one of my favorite lines. The next segment, I will go with the best and worst joke I thought from the movie. I always like when Tony blows up crashes the airplane, and him and Rhodey are on the phone, and Rhodey's like, "How do I explain the plane?" And Tony's like, "Training exercise, and isn't that the usual BS?" And Rhodes is like, "I can't do that. Come on." And then immediately cuts to the next scene. In an unfortunate training exercise, I don't know, it's just a great jump cut for the joke, and I thought it was a good comedic effect. The worst joke was Obadiah Stane when he was in the suit and he's telling Pepper, "Your services are no longer required." It was a bad line. Bad joke. And then, so for my next segment, it'll be loose threads. Any questions you might have from this opening scene or this opening movie and going into the rest of the MCU? So you're probably left thinking, what's S.H.I.E.L.D.? Like, who is that guy? And just, there was some mystery around him, and like, what do they want to talk to him about? And then if you watch till after the credits, and anybody who's ever watched Marvel movies should know, there's always something at the end of the credits. The Avengers Initiative. You're probably wondering, okay, what's that? I have no idea what that is. And who is Samuel L. Jackson? Who is this Director Fury? So, yeah. I think those are good, like, open plot points to just come away with. Everything else I think was pretty well tied up in the movie. And we'll figure out more about S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers Initiative. The next segment would be Cameo, and the best cameo in this movie was Stan Lee. There's not a whole lot of cameos in the MCU, but cameos, Stan Lee's going to be a lot of them, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you view his performances. I love them, actually. It's not unfortunate for me, but I say unfortunately just because it's not a great variety of cameos. But yeah, him as Hugh Hefner, it's just like great. It's perfect. Just, yeah. Unfortunately, he didn't get a line. He just had to turn around. But, it's just a cameo. It should just be quick like that. For the next segment, I'm calling it referenceable, and that's if I normally like reference something from this movie. And there's not a whole lot in this movie that I actually reference as I watched it. So yeah, like as I was watching it, I'm just not like, oh yeah, if I hear that random word or phrase, I blurt out, I can't help but think about this. And there wasn't really anything from this movie where I hear it something in real life and then immediately blurt out a line from this movie. And then next segment would be questions and answers. In the future, if you have any questions, you can just let me know either through comments or you can email me. I set up an email for these questions if you want to do it that way. It is tvandmovieguyproductions@gmail.com. And yeah, so like I'll monitor that as I'm going through all of these and answer them in future videos. And this segment's also for if I have any questions, and then people can answer them if they want in comments or through email. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer what I can when I can. And then next segment will be everything else in terms of what I want to talk about from the movie that I didn't already address in the earlier segments. So I really like the S.H.I.E.L.D. plotline. So just subtly being introduced, and Agent Coulson was just like a perfect agent, just doing what he needed to do. And they weren't also like giving you everything, so they're building up this cinematic universe, so they're not giving you everything you need to in the first movie, but it's enough to be like, hey, like, what is that? I'm interested. And then turns out they're pretty badass, able to shoot. Sorry about that. That's pretty not bad. 2 times. But yeah, they're pretty cool. Have their own devices and able to like kind of help Pepper toward the end of the movie. As I had said before, Yinsen, I really liked his performance. He's the whole reason for Iron Man being alive, and kind of almost an inspiration to putting an arc reactor in his chest. And then Jeff Bridges, like, what a get. Like, and in future movies, I'm going to point out like other actors that I can't believe like they got and are just like amazing to have. But Jeff, so like all the old heads, and I don't mean old in that sense, but more like proven and have quite the credentials and well respected, I think. And yeah, just to start off with Jeff Bridges is pretty great. Yeah, just it's an amazing character, I think. Like he's not super powered, which is like easier for us to kind of just like swallow and like be like, okay, we could be like that if we were a billionaire. We could make the suit. We could create the technology and just be Iron Man. He doesn't have actual powers. It's just technology. And we saw him go from the cocky persona to being knocked down in a cave and then build himself back up to be his normal arrogant self again, but have this kind of backstory and now a reason to be doing good as he sees it. And he is a hero. He's not like an anti-hero, so he is doing good. But yeah, so that's my Iron Man review, and let me know if you have any questions or any feedback. This is my very first video, other than my intro, so I'm gonna have a lot of weird ticks, I'm sure, and a lot of weird crutches to lean on. I say a lot, and that makes me think of and yeah. And then my last segment is actually references. And what that means is basically anytime I go off on a tangent and reference something other than the movie I'm talking about, I'll just write down how many references I not accidentally, but just went on because it just randomly popped in my head. So, and feel free to guess where each of those references come from if I do it. I don't maybe I should say where they come from as I do them, just because I want people to know. It's it's almost it's kind of annoying quality of mine, and I'm sure my coworkers are very annoyed by it, but I love doing it. I'm not gonna stop. But yeah, so if you don't already know, is from How I Met Your Mother. All right. Have a good night. See ya.